If you are going through a Kundalini awakening, you probably already feel it. Life is no longer the same. It never will be. You're losing interest in things you used to love. People are acting differently around you. Your body feels hypersensitive. Your mind is always shifting, and time itself feels like it's accelerating or slowing down or doesn't exist at all. You might even feel like the old you has completely disappeared. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why Kundalini awakening transforms your life so dramatically and how to embrace this shift so that you can fully step into your highest, most awakened, most divine self. I created a free Kundalini awakening symptom relief guide. Sign up to receive that below. Let's dive right in. Number 1, you become the mirror. People cannot hide themselves from you. After Kundalini awakens, your very presence becomes like a catalyst. People feel kind of exposed. You start to see underneath the mask that they've always been wearing, and they may even sense this. And your energy kind of amplifies consciousness and awareness, amplifies truth. Some people will love you for this because they feel completely seen, and other people will feel not so great about that. They'll reject you or even act irrationally because they cannot hide their own illusions in your presence. They can't tell the lie about who they are or what they're all about anymore. And it's not that they are bad. It's simply that they've been hiding the truth from themselves and from other people. We all wear masks, and we do this to survive. We do this to be able to fit in with our tribes, which meant survival at one point in our lives. For me, this was actually really clear. I was dating someone, and I had always seen him as sort of a larger than life kind of personality. He was very wealthy. He walked with a puffed out chest. He always felt very confident in kind of telling people what to do and how to behave. One day I went to his house and I saw him like Schmeagol from Lord of the Rings. Shriveled up, sad, small, really kind of feeling insignificant and broken. I saw beneath his mask, and his actual physical presence changed in my eyes. I perceived him completely differently. You might have people confessing their deepest fears randomly, like strangers telling you things that you didn't ask them to tell you because they sense that they can. They feel safe with you. You may literally see the truth in people that you never saw before, people that you've known for years. It seems like they are changing, but that's not what's happening. It's that you are seeing the real them under the masks that they didn't even know that they've been wearing for so long. Number 2. You lose interest in traditional manifestation techniques. You lose interest in the law of attraction because you realize that you're not the one manifesting anything. The divine energy, the divinity that is who you are and wants to move through you, that is what is creating life. And all you can do is align with that. All you can do is allow it. Instead of forcing anything, instead of trying to create all the time and doing affirmations or visualization, you start listening to what wants to happen through you. And this changes everything. You stop chasing opportunities and you start kind of attracting them without you even having to ask. In all of these unexpected ways, you attract just the right people without even knowing that you were attracting anything or anyone. Life flows because you are flowing with life. Time starts to move strangely. Oh my goodness. So there's like this crazy thing that happens when you start really deepening your awakening, and it's almost like reality, time itself starts to bend. There's either an experience that time doesn't exist at all, that it's really slow, that it's really speeding up. I have particularly had times when I drove somewhere and it felt like it took like 5 hours, and then on the way home it felt like it took the blink of an eye. I'm not talking about, just little shifts. I'm talking about truly it feels like you jumped into another dimension where time is different. Events that should have taken years to unfold take months or even weeks. People appear in your life at exactly the right moment, and oftentimes they're there as guides, or they kind of point you toward the next step. This is so crazy. I've had people in my life lining up and orchestrating things perfectly to teach me exactly what I need to learn, to show me exactly what needs to be seen. It seems like they're in on some plan that I'm not aware of. It's wild. And you can actually kind of increase this synchronicity by looking at other people as teachers, no matter who they are, even if it seems like they couldn't possibly know more than you or be more conscious or whatever it is. Humble yourself and be willing to see every single person that you meet, every person that triggers you, every person that upsets you, every person that is wonderful to you. See them all as teachers and ask to be shown, ask to grow. Another cool thing is you don't have to wait for things anymore, because life is moving through you. Life is moving as you, and everything kind of speeds up. These things that you may think of, and maybe for a moment you have a desire, they just kind of materialize. Sometimes within minutes, sometimes instantly. For example, my fiance and I were traveling back from mountain climbing. We go mountain climbing all the time. And we stopped for dinner. I was thinking, I really want simply a half a tuna fish sandwich. I don't want any more food than that, and that would be so perfect. And he looked at me almost as soon as I had this thought and said, do you want to just get a tuna fish sandwich and split it with me? I could not have planned that any better. And stuff like this starts to happen so often that it becomes sort of like no big deal. This flows more and more. So you start to think of something and the answer to it will appear, or somebody will bring it up in a conversation, or you'll need something and it will just show up. Your nervous system starts to become a superconductor of energy. You feel everything so much more intensely, not just emotions, but the subtlest shifts of energies in a room, the shift of energy within a person as they're talking to you. And this is for good and for bad. For me, I would go out and notice auras around people. I would see and kind of sense the energy that was bouncing off of them, that they were sending out into the world, that other people were sending toward them. I could see the energy exchanges. And it came about because of sensitivity to energies that I've never been able to pick up on before. You also may just be sensitive to other people's emotions, to lights, to sounds. I'm talking about you can't go outside because the sun is too bright, or the smallest sound in the other room, just, you need to get away from it. It's too much. And being around other people, especially specific people, will drain you pretty much instantly, and other people will really ignite and fuel your energy. Pay attention to that. That's good information to have. And if your system isn't prepared, it can feel like you're really overwhelmed, and this can be exhausting. So you want to learn, once again, to regulate your nervous system, learn to regulate your energy, and make this kind of non-negotiable. So you're doing a kind of daily energetic hygiene routine. You're making sure that you are regulated. So crucial. You may experience a death of identity and feeling like you're nobody, and maybe even like everyone else is kind of nobody as well. There can also be a feeling, and a lot of people will call this a void, or just an experience that everything is empty. The walls around you are empty. The chair you're sitting on, it's empty. You are empty. The people around you are empty. And there are two ways of experiencing this. There's probably a million ways, but I know for me, I experienced it as very negative and really felt like, why am I alive? And almost felt like I was ready for death. And then there was the flip side of that, which is kind of actually where I am right now, of feeling like the objects around me are empty. The people around me are just empty vessels for the divine, and all of divinity, light, just moves in all around me, the empty space all around me that is kind of presenting itself as form. It's a beautiful feeling. At any rate, A lot of people experience kind of a death of who they thought they were. Their personality feels totally like an outdated costume. They feel like maybe they were a character in a play or a movie. You start to really get sick of your own story. You can't even tell it anymore. And when people ask you questions like, tell me about yourself, or what do you do? It's almost like you can't even answer. There's nothing to say. And you don't want to hear it from other people either. By the way, this feeling of like, I don't want to hear about your story, I don't want to hear about who you are, that does go away, that does pass, because you start to kind of replace that with compassion and connection. But you're just no longer resonating with limited identity of a separate self for yourself or for anyone else. You're not resonating with your past goals, your ambitions, your desires. You have become more and more detached from labels, from status, from even your personal identity. And at first, this can be so terrifying and just feel really kind of icky. But if you can surrender to it, it becomes the most peaceful state that you could ever imagine. It's bliss, really. It's peace. You may even look in the mirror, and I've had this happen more than once, and feel either like you're looking at a stranger. I have had so many times where I have just kind of glanced at myself in the mirror, and I've actually had to stop and stare for a bit and thought, like, I don't know who that is. I don't recognize this person. Of course, intellectually, I knew who it was, but there was no recognition of a self. And now it kind of feels a little bit more like I look in the mirror and it just feels the same as I see everything, just this sort of emptiness, like almost like a representation of energy in a form. The mind becomes secondary, and you start to shift more and more into pure awareness. The self-referential thoughts slow down and sometimes even stop completely, although this is a more advanced state that can take years to move into. But a lot of people just simply don't have self-referential thoughts, meaning they're not thinking about themselves. They're not referring to themselves and wondering, do I look good in this outfit? Am I making the right choice? Like, those thoughts stop happening. And also the loops, the mental loops that are constantly repeating for so many people, those start to go away more and more. And instead, you kind of live in this stillness, this awareness. Your mind gets really quiet. You can see when thoughts do arise, they're clearer because there are fewer of them. And you also notice the shifts in consciousness. You notice how fluid it is. You notice how it really is like a stream. Instead of processing thoughts and kind of fully allowing them to develop, you just sort of know things. You just kind of are, and things unfold. Something that can happen for a lot of people is they live more intuitively. And this is part of the process of these sort of analytical and conceptual thoughts dissolving. You just have a knowing. You know the answer to things. You feel a yes in your body. You feel a no in your body, and you trust that. Your body becomes a divine instrument and also hypersensitive. Your diet, your movement, your environment start affecting you like they never have before. I definitely experienced this with my diet and with movement with my body. I have never been a person who cares very much about environment. I don't feel like it affects me all that much, but you may find that you cannot be in a room that is not clean. That happens for people. They need the energy to be kind of pure. And processed food, alcohol, drugs might feel totally intolerable, or for some people, and this is totally okay, totally valid, they actually crave sugar or crave fatty foods. And you'll just know, you just are drawn to this. It's not something that you decide. Certain places, certain people can feel electrifying. Other places, other people can feel really suffocating. It is crucial, if this is happening to you, that you listen to your body, listen to your inner voice. If you don't, the Kundalini energy will kind of force you to, and that's a much more difficult path. The Kundalini just wants what's best for you, so it's going to align with what's right for you, whether you like it or not. It kind of doesn't care about your feelings. Another thing that's really cool is downloads. Sometimes these can even replace traditional learning. It's almost like you directly access knowledge and truth. You don't need books anymore. You may not even feel like you need a teacher. You just know things. Information arrives directly. And people have traditionally called this downloads because sometimes it literally does feel like it's coming down through the crown into your body, into your mind, into your being. And there's this ability to tap into universal wisdom without even seeking it. You just become the universal wisdom. And this is why awakened people stop studying so many scriptures. They even stop watching so many YouTube videos. They just know, and they want to experience these things more. They want to experience the meditative depths. And another thing that is just the most amazing thing to me, and definitely happened to me so strongly, and if you're watching this video, you're either probably in this or it will happen to you soon. This pull that just magnetizes you to go deeper and deeper into this journey, into learning more about it, into practicing meditation more, into learning the breath work. You just can't get enough of it. For me, at one point, I was meditating like every free moment I got, which luckily for me at the time was like 8 hours a day. Like I really was able to get a ton of meditating in. And even now, it's what I want to do. If I could live my life and meet all of my bills and all of that and just meditate all day, that is what I would do. So it has you. There's no going back. And there comes a point too where you start to feel like the old you is part of a past life, even if it was just a few weeks or months ago. And this is because your perception shifts so fast. There's so much happening energetically in your subtle body, in your life, that when you look back at the person you were before, it just feels like you're looking at a stranger. You don't even recognize who you were. Memories feel distant and unimportant. They don't matter. And almost depersonalized, like they happen to somebody else or happen to a movie character. You might meet somebody you haven't seen in a long time who was a best friend or an ex-lover or something, and been like, how did I even relate to this person? The me now cannot relate to anything that they're saying. Nothing against them, just does not resonate anymore. Because you are not the same you. You are changed on a DNA level. Literally, who you are is completely different. You experience periods of extreme isolation. That's really a sacred reset. Kundalini removes everything that is not aligned, including relationships, jobs, interests, goals, dreams. It can feel like you're losing everything, actually. You're getting ready for your real path, one that's much more authentic for you. The isolation stage, or the hermit phase, is a sacred time where your ego is really dissolving, and the real essence of who you are starts guiding your life more and more. If this is you and you're going through this kind of hermit phase, don't worry. Try and follow that. It's guidance. Be alone as much as possible. Turn off your phone. Meditate. This is a call to go deeper if you feel like you want to isolate. It's all part of the process. It's all okay. And if you check in deeper with yourself, deeper than the conditioning that has told you that you should be lonely, you'll probably find that you're actually enjoying the time alone. So the final takeaway is that you don't change, you dissolve into what you've always been, which is a divine, completely awake, pure, perfect, whole being. Kundalini awakening was never about self-improvement. It's actually about dissolving the self and dissolving everything that is not divine, not authentic. Illusions fall away. You start experiencing life as pure presence, pure flow, pure deep surrender. You live in deep surrender. Your life truly will never be the same because you, as you once were, as you once knew yourself, no longer exist.